All right, we're going to go on the record. These are the jurors who will be on the panel. 7, 10, 11, 12, 14, 20, 22, 25, 27, 29, 31, and 32. Any objection from the state?
No objection from the state.
Any objection from the defense?
No objection from the defense, Your Honor.
And the alternates will be number 53 and 54. Any objection from the state?
No, Your Honor.
Any objection from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right, and just so everyone knows, I do not tell the alternates that they're alternates because I want them all to be actively listening as well. If both parties are ready to proceed, we'll bring the panel back in and have the jurors seated and sworn. Are both parties ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, then Deputy Laura, you can bring them in. How's it going today? Oh, all right. No. Thank you. Have a good one. Oh, and state, do you all have the indictment or did you need a copy of the court's indictment?
I have a copy, Judge.
All right, thank you.
Go back. Squat. I'll just turn it. Just do it for next time. Oh. The index finger, have a seat. Come on, Carlos. Can everybody know it's? All right, I don't know that, and everybody else has to stand, so everybody come on in.
All right, everyone, please be seated. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for coming down for jury duty. As I said, with jury duty, we're not going to see you next week and the week after that. It will be some time between your being called up for jury duty again. Deputy Laura should have handed you the white sheets of paper. Those white sheets of paper signify that you were here today. Those are your excuses. If you did not receive one, just let us know. We'll make sure you get one. and the deputy is behind you. They'll make sure that they get you one. So before you leave, just make sure you have that. Make sure that you validate your parking in the basement if you have not validated your parking. You will be receiving a check in the mail for your service here today. Of course, everyone would like for that check to be $100 or $200. It will not, but it will be enough for you if you wish to come back downtown, which I always encourage people to do, to have a lunch where you can enjoy the Riverwalk. I always wonder if people actually take note of the places that they're living, or is it just something that you see and you're, that's just the Riverwalk. And sometimes we tend to do that, but when you actually have tourists, and my family have come here to be tourists, and they come from out of town, they think it's just great. Whenever I go to Europe, I always wonder, do people really notice this Eiffel Tower here in the Louvre, or do they just say, that's just the Louvre, that's just the Eiffel Tower? So I hope that you all get a chance to see downtown with new eyes, because there is new stuff that you can enjoy. You are always welcome in the 187 District Court. This is a courtroom that's open. As Mr. Brooker will tell you, I like to make sure that the public knows what we actually do in these courtrooms, and we work in these courtrooms every single day. So you should really get a chance to know about the justice system and how it works. With that being said, I am going to call the parties who are going to be on the jury. When I call your name, please take a seat in the box. Carlos Mendoza. Carlos Mendoza. And this is the last name I can never pronounce. Celeste Duenas. Sarah Brooks. Audrey. She already knows. I promise I'm gonna work on the last name. Zergowski. Zergowski. Okay. Ashton Sheehan. Hector High. Hector. How do you pronounce your last name?
Pronunciation would be
E. Okay. E. All right. Thank you. Samuel Trinidad. Christine Turner. Melinda Weichman. Samuel Reveas. William Cerns. Cecilia Gonzalez. Martha Klein. Fabian Segala. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you'll receive, as I said previously, a payment in the mail. You can do one or two things. One, if you go back downstairs, you can also make a decision to donate your pay to a charity of your choice. And then they have a list of different charities. All right. Thank you all so much. You're excused.
You're officially adjourned. You guys had tags?
So, and I saw you, I was like, yes, indeed. Awesome.
Adjourned. You didn't get one? Oh, he's like,
Back already.
All right, thank you so much. All right, if everyone will take their seats, please. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to swear you in. I know you were given an oath downstairs, but there's a different oath now that you've been selected to serve on this jury. So if everyone could raise their right hands for me, please. Do you and each of you solemnly swear or affirm in the case of the state of Texas against Roger Saucedo, you will a true verdict render according to the law and the evidence, so help you God? All right, you may lower your hand. State.
True bill of indictment. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, the grand jury of Bexar County, state of Texas, duly organized, impaneled, and sworn as such at the July term AD 2019 of the 227th Judicial District Court of said county and said court at said term do present in and to said court that in the county and state aforesaid and anterior to the presentment of this indictment, on or about the 29th day of June 2018, Roger Saucedo, hereinafter referred to as defendant, did use and exhibit a deadly weapon, namely a firearm, and defendant did intentionally, knowingly, and recklessly cause bodily injury to Zachary Specs, hereinafter referred to as complainant, by shooting the complainant with said deadly weapon against the peace and dignity of the state.
All right, to that, how do you plead?
Not guilty.
Right. State, do you have opening statements?
We do, Judge.
All right, you may proceed.
On June 28th, 2018, Zachary Specs had just gone off of work, getting towards night. Now, he lived on the southwest side of town and decided, after he got off of work, to make a stop. Zachary was a landscaper. He had dirt in the back of his truck. He wanted to clean it out before going home. Now, Zachary made the decision to stop in a creek not far from his home. As he was cleaning out the back of his truck, he encountered someone. It was a nearby homeowner. They were upset that Zachary was dumping this dirt outside of his home in the highway. Now, Zachary also had several bags with him that were also thrown out. We're not trying to say that what he did, cleaning out truck and leaving trash in that alleyway, wasn't the right thing to do. But what happened was he got in an argument with that homeowner. Person's yelling at him, saying, "Why are you doing this? I clean up that area. You need to stop." And they get into a heated argument. From Zachary's memory, he states, or he believes that the argument doesn't last that long. He's cleaning out his truck, just trying to go home. But then that person said something again, angrier. Shortly thereafter, Zachary heard gunfire. He thought he was getting shot at. He ran into the driver's side of his truck and attempted to leave. Now, he did get the truck going, but he very quickly crashed that truck into the creek bed because Zachary was shot in the head. He got out of his truck, tried to walk away, but he collapsed right there. You're going to hear from Officer Castillo. He was one of the first responding officers to that scene. Now, Officer Castillo found Zachary in that creek bed, bleeding from the head wound, blood all over. Zachary's in pain. He's thirsty. He's asking, "Am I going to die?" EMS was able to respond to Zachary But Zachary gives a short description of what happens. He says, someone shot at me, dumping out dirt out of the back of my truck, and he shot at me. Now several officers arrive at the scene. They canvass the area. They find where Zachary was dumping the dirt. They find the bags he left behind. And after a search of the area, they're able to see that there are shell casings in one of the backyards. Several officers, including Detective Mondragon and Officer Mendez, go with Officer Castillo to the home where the shell casings were at. That home was owned by the mother of Robert Saucedo. He lived there with them. Now, they get permission to search the backyard where they find several shell casings all around the backyard. And Roger admits that he shot at Zachary. Now, Roger gives several versions of events as to what happened. He has to go downtown and speak to Detective Mondragon, and he gives a statement. At the same time, Detective Remmers, another detective was at SAPD. He goes to the hospital to try and speak with Zachary. Zachary is in pain. He's been shot in the head. He's about to be prepped for surgery. Zachary ended up losing sight in that eye. Ended up having ocular damage where his sight is severely dampened now. Now, state can't hide. Zachary had 2 guns on him. He did. There were 2 revolvers. One that was found in the back seat of his truck. It's a little cab pickup truck where he pulled the front seat down and he came to go in. He has a starter pistol in another bag that's found at the scene. Now, Zachary can't remember all of these details because he got shot in the head. The one thing that did happen was that it wasn't the defendant who said, I had to fire at Zachary. This is what happened. The officer had to find him. Ladies and gentlemen, what I want you to do is listen to the evidence and decide who has the credibility here. Thank you.
Right, defense?
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, during jury selection earlier today, we weren't allowed to get into the facts of what we expect to come from the witness stand, okay? And so there's a lot of what the state has provided you as information that somewhat aligns with what we believe took place in this particular occasion. In 2018, Father Saucedo was in his backyard with his mother. And done some cleaning up their backyard, normal afternoon. His mom likes to garden back there. And at a certain point, Zachary Specs comes up to the alleyway behind their house. I'm gonna see that like a service area. It's a paved road behind the area of his house and the other areas, properties behind that are next to him. And he's been concerned about things that happen back there. In fact, at times he's had to make sure to clear up that area because he's been notified by the city. If he doesn't, he can be ticketed himself. So he's very particular about keeping that area clean and taken care of. He is going to tell you that his mom notices that there's somebody back there getting rid of stuff. She initially makes contact to try to tell this person to stop. He goes over there too. At a certain point, words are exchanged because Zachary does not want to have anybody telling him he can't do this here. In particular, because he's 20 minutes away from his own house. This is not like it's something near his where he resides. He simply had to go to this area in order to do this dumping of this material. And so tensions rise. What you're going to hear from Mr. Saucedo and his mom is that rocks are being thrown. At a certain point, Zachary pulls out his weapon. Roger's going to tell you that he goes to get his as well. Shots are fired at him. He begins to fire back. He's gonna tell you initially, he fired at the ground, try to scare him off. Also gonna tell you that his mom had to duck behind one of the cars in his backyard. And she could hear the gunshots hitting the car. She's gonna tell you, he's gonna tell you that they were concerned about what was gonna happen to them. So he returned fire until things stopped. Zachary sped off. What you're gonna learn is that, yes, Zachary did crash into this ditch. And he suffered an injury. What you're gonna know is that 911 was also called. Roger was very quick to provide information as to what took place. He let the officers know, yes, I did fire a weapon. Yes, I did fire at this person who was back there, who was illegally dumping behind my house, who opened fire on me and my mother. He's gonna tell you that he showed police where the gun was. He's gonna tell you that he voluntarily went with police that night to give a statement. He's gonna tell you that he was there for several hours, gave a statement, left the police department that night, went home. Didn't hear anything about it for several years. And you're gonna learn he was later indicted, and then 4 years later, he was arrested. His story has never changed. He's gonna tell you, I did what I had to do to protect myself and to protect my family member, because I was trying to stop somebody from doing something behind my property. He's very clear about that. That's why we had the discussions that we had during the jury session, because those are the things I want you to pay attention to. In addition, I want you to think about the police work that was done. And even consider the fact that the police had their own theory. In fact, you're going to hear several members of the police department believe that he was justified in his actions, that Mr. Saucedo was justified in his own actions. And then when you hear all that evidence, you're going to wonder, why are we still here? Why are we having to decide this case? Because Mr. Roger Saucedo is not guilty of aggravated assault.
All right, state, call your first witness.
State calls Officer Castillo.
All right, can you raise your right hand for me, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can lower your hand. Please make sure that you speak up loudly enough so that the court reporter can hear and the jurors can hear. And please do not talk too fast.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, if you could state your name and spell it.
I am Christian Castillo, CHRISTIAN
Right, state.
Sorry?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm asking the
Oh.
state to ask their questions now.
Officer Castillo, who do you currently work for?
The San Antonio Police Department.
How long have you worked for SAPD?
7 years this December.
And what are your current duties with the San Antonio Police Department?
Right now, I'm a detective. I am assigned to the Covert Response Unit
And when did you become a detective?
this past November of 2022.
Before that, what were you doing?
I was a patrol officer.
What does that mean, being a patrol officer?
You are in a patrol vehicle and you respond to 911 calls, range from a domestic disturbance up to a shooting, wherever it may be. And then, or you can be proactive if you'd like to as well.
And when you were working patrol, were you assigned to a specific area?
Yes, at the time, South Patrol.
And were you working patrol back on June 28th of 2018?
Yes, I was.
And were you working that night?
Yes, I was.
And what shift were you working that night?
I was working South Patrol B shift, which is from 1:30 to 9:30 p.m.
And on June 28th of 2018, did you have to respond to a call that night?
Yes, I did.
What type of call did you respond to?
It came out as a shots fired heard.
And where did you respond out to?
Believe the street was Fairhaven near Five Palms.
Do you remember the specific address?
Exact address, no. That should be on the report.
So do you need your report to refresh your recollection?
Yes, please.
Okay, Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Officer Castillo, this is your report.
Yes, it is.
All right, sir, if you can, take a moment, review the report, and once you've refreshed your recollection, you put the report to have the question.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember where you went out to?
Yes, it was 7906 Fairground Drive.
What side of town is that on?
That's on the south side.
And is that location in Bear County, Texas?
Yes, it is.
So you respond to shots fired. What did you see when you arrived at the scene?
I was being flagged down by a witness and they pointed to the direction of a ditch where there was a truck and then there was a body laying on the ground further away from the truck.
And did you approach the person that was on the ground?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and what type of state were they in?
He was injured. There was a lot of blood on his shirt, on his pants, and then on his face.
Was he able to speak with you?
Yes, I was speaking with him.
And did you notice any apparent injuries on him?
Initially, no, I just saw a lot of blood. Try to assess him, trying to figure out exactly where he was shot or where he was injured. It was until a later time I figured out that he was shot in the head, in the face.
Were you the only officer to respond to the scene?
No, I have another officer with me.
And did other officers come after that?
Yes, once we requested that we confirmed that there was a shooting, more officers came to assist the set up a perimeter on at the scene.
Were you able to speak with Zachary about what happened?
Yes, I did.
And what did Zachary say happened?
That
I'm objecting hearsay, Your Honor.
All right, that will be overruled unless foundation is laid. I'm sorry, sustained unless foundation is laid.
How much blood did Zachary have on him?
his clothing was pretty soiled with blood.
And how long did it take EMS to arrive?
About 8 to 10 minutes approximately.
And did Zachary ever say that he was worried that he was going to die that night?
Yes,
Your Honor.
Sorry,
Hearsay.
when someone stands, that means that they're making an objection. So once someone stands, just stop speaking. And then once I make a ruling on their objection, if you don't understand what my ruling means, just ask me before answering, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, the objection is sustained.
So you figured out where the injury was,
Yes,
and where was that injury?
on his left upper eyebrow.
Now, was Zachary ever able to stand up at this time?
No,
And was he taken to the hospital by EMS?
yes, he was.
And can you just describe, Zachary, just how was he behaving when you spoke with him?
He seemed pretty concerned that he was going to die. And he kept asking for something to drink, that he was thirsty. And he was explaining to me a little bit what was going on because I was asking him some questions about what had happened.
And due to the state that he was in, was he able to receive water?
I was told by EMS not to give him water.
Do you know why?
I don't know exactly why. I'm not a trained medical professional.
And Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes.
Now, Officer Castillo, were you equipped with the body worn camera that night?
Yes, I was.
And are you trained in how to properly use the body worn camera?
Yes, I am.
And was it recording on that night?
Yes, it was.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Officer Castillo, I'm approaching you with what's being marked as State's Exhibit number 1. Do you recognize this?
Yes,
What is it?
my body cam video.
Okay. And have you had an opportunity to watch the video on this camera?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And is it a true and accurate depiction of what happened that night?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And has it been altered or amended in any way?
No, sir.
Your Honor, state what offer State's Exhibit 1 in evidence.
Any objections?
Just, I think we just want to clarify something, Your Honor, because I believe there's 2 copies of that. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes.
And so can I just take the witness on voir dire briefly?
Yes.
Officer Castillo, you've watched both videos?
Yes, sir.
Is there a difference between the 2 videos?
Yes, there's one of them is it's muted, there's no audio, just the video. And the other one is my video with audio.
Why would there be 2 separate videos?
Not sure for that reason.
And when you say one is muted with audio, with video, and the other one is unmuted with video, is that correct? Or-
Yes, one is just my regular body cam from the scene. And the other one is no audio at all. That's how it was. They brought it out.
To your understanding, it was removed from the video?
The audio?
Yes.
I believe so, yes, when it's muted.
So it wasn't something that was done, like you didn't mute your body cam during that time. It was something that was taken out of the video.
I believe so for the second one.
So would you agree with me then at that point, it's been altered then?
From the original,
Yes.
from the second CD, yes.
And you don't know why that's been done?
Don't. No, sir.
Your Honor, that's my only objection, that it has been altered at this point, so we can't verify it's a true and accurate copy of the original.
And Your Honor, I will clarify with further questioning. So one of them, it's fully muted.
All right, if you'll ask your questions.
So States 1 is what you saw. That's fully muted, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, and States 2 is a partial muting.
yes, yes, sir.
And that, you don't know the reason why it was muted, is that correct?
The one that's fully muted, yes, I don't know why.
Okay, but do you know why number 2 was partially muted?
It's when I manually muted it myself. At certain points of the scene.
And are you sure that it's because you manually muted it?
Yes, when I did it through my body cam. Yes.
Your Honor, State would still offer States Exhibit 1 into evidence at this time. It is the fully muted version of his body worn camera.
All right.
If that's the only one that they're offering at this time, Judge, we have no objection.
All right, so you have no objection to State's Exhibit number 1?
Correct.
All right, then State's Exhibit number 1 is admitted without objection.
Just one more question, Judge, just to clarify, just to make sure it's clear to the jury. On States Exhibit number 2, it's only partially muted, is that correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, permission to publish?
Granted.
Ignore.
Hmm.
Let's give this a second. Put your back.
Your Honor,
Yes.
yes. Our screen is not working.
Oh, okay. So
I did
is,
not know if it would be an issue until we get to this point. Now
No,
it's
that's-
like we probably need to see it.
all right. Is everyone's screen not working?
Ours only.
Just yours only? All right. Are you able to?
We can look at someone else's.
Okay, yes.
I didn't know if it was something.
Oh, no, I appreciate you for telling us that. All right. Are you all able to see?
I
I don't know, they don't create three people, but we did not know.
Yeah, this is off the record. Okay.
I just- yeah, let me try to turn that mouse.
All right. Well, let me ask you, are you able to look at someone else's now?
Absolutely.
All right. And then we'll have tech.
Making aware of it.
No, I appreciate you for doing that. All right. State you may publish state's exhibit number 1.
I'm gonna skip ahead in states 1. I skipped ahead to 230:01. What are we seeing here, sir?
Me driving my patrol car to the scene.
Helping the video at about 2:37. What are we seeing?
The victim on the ground, and covered in blood.
So were you able to speak with Zachary?
Yes, I was.
And were you able to give medical attention to Zachary?
Yes, I was trying to assess him and see where exactly he was shot at.
How long did it take for you to figure out where he was shot at?
It took a little while to figure out.
So how long were you out there with Zachary? You remember?
Couldn't give an exact amount of time
Was it a little bit of time, a long time?
until EMS arrived, probably about maybe from initial arrival on scene till EMS, about maybe 15 minutes at most.
And once you assessed Zachary and made sure that EMS was on the way, did you try to investigate what happened?
Yes, I did.
And what did you do in order to investigate?
I started canvassing the scene. I went towards the truck and observed that there was some bullet holes on it and there was some blood on the exterior of the pickup truck. And then continued canvassing the scene towards the area described where the dirt was alleged to have been thrown at. So found the dirt and went towards the corner house that the victim described where he was shot at. And I observed some casings through the fence line.
And how long did it take for you to find those casings?
Over an hour and a half from initial arrival on scene. Probably possibly longer than that.
And how far away was that home where you found the casing?
The casings were found in the backyard of that home.
Skipping ahead to about 3:03:48. What are you doing now, sir?
Retracing the step possibly where the truck was possibly driving from.
And what were you looking for?
Anything for any evidence, possibly dirt, casings, tire tracks, anything I can use to help with the case.
And were you able to speak to other witnesses in the area?
Yes, I did.
And were any of them direct eyewitnesses to what happened?
No.
I'm skipping ahead. So it's 3:18:27. Was this one of the witnesses that you spoke to?
Yes.
And Describe the area. What side of town is it? Is it, describe that area of town. Is it a nice part of town? Is it a bad part of town? Do you know?
It's a bad part of town.
Is this something that's unusual for that area based off your training and experience?
No,
The relevance.
All right, that'll be overruled.
You can answer, sir.
no, it's pretty common there. Hearing gunshots.
I'm gonna try and get, this is not as easy as it looks, but 33522. So what are you doing here, sir?
Guess looking around where the truck was at, seeing if anything else I can help with the searching the scene for evidence.
Do you remember, was this, at this point, had you found the shell casings in that backyard?
Not yet.
And who is that person in the white shirt? Do you know?
That's a 9 CID detective.
What's night CID?
There are essentially our follow detectives that can assist us with pretty much guiding us towards the direction of where an offense may go towards.
So are they considered your supervisor?
No,
But they're there to help guide you.
yes, for direction of the case. Yeah.
So I'm putting the video at 3:49:37. Are you still looking? You just said that you found shell casings eventually, but have you found them yet?
I think I'm about to right now. Yes, I believe this is the point where I found the casings.
Now, what made you look over that fence?
So based off where the dirt was at, that's where I believe the truck was parked at. And I just happened to check through the fence line to see if maybe that's where he was shot from, and that's where also the victim described where he was shot at, corner house.
Now, did you ever try and enter this home or enter that backyard?
From the backyard, no, but we did knock through the front door.
Fast forwarding to 3:57:45. Now, what are you doing here, sir?
Making my way to the front door.
Was anyone home?
Yes, there was.
Who was home? Do you remember?
The defendant and his mother.
Now, the defendant, do you remember what the defendant looked like?
Not at this current time.
Do you remember his name? Was that ever put on your report?
Yes, it was on a report.
Do you remember his name though?
Right now, no, but if I can look over my report real quick and refresh my memory.
If you can, sir.
Okay,
What was his name?
Roger Saucedo.
Now, did you speak with Roger and his mother?
Mostly spoke with his mother.
But did you overhear what Roger was saying?
Yes, I did.
Now, based off of what you were hearing, did Roger ever admit to firing a weapon?
Yes, he did.
And you stated that you spoke with his mother. Did you ever ask her permission to search the backyard?
Yes, she signed a consent to search form.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
I'm approaching with what's been marked, or going to be marked, as states 3. Do you recognize it? Say that I'm already all the way.
Yeah.
What is this?
That is the consent to search form.
And who signed it?
Myself and the 9 CID detective Mondragon.
And did anyone else sign it?
The Mr. Saucedo did.
Was it Mr. Saucedo?
Oh,
Sorry, it's incursive, isn't it?
yes. Actually, that's can't read that handwriting first name.
Was it his mother?
Yes, it's from, yeah, I remember from the body cam, yes, it was, the mother that signed it.
Okay, and what was the mother's name? Do you remember that?
No, but it's in my report, if I can see it real quick.
You need to refresh your recollection. What was her name?
Rosa Saucedo.
Your Honor, state what offer states exhibit number 3.
Any objection?
Objection, Your Honor.
All right, state's exhibit number 3 is admitted without objection.
So. Did Roger ever admit? Or did Roger ever state which gun he used to shoot at Zachary?
Yes, he did.
Where was that gun located?
In the kitchen in a drawer.
And after you got permission to search the yard, did you and other officers ever search the area?
The area of the backyard?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And what did you find in the backyard? Do you remember?
Yes, we found casings and then some bullet holes on the fence.
And did you ever get an opportunity to observe these bullet holes?
Yes, I did.
And based off your observations of the bullet holes, do you remember anything particular about them?
They were as if they were shot from the backyard towards I guess the ditch or alleyway where the truck was parked at.
And how would you be able to tell that?
Based off the trajectory, you can see how if it breaks outward the wood.
Now, did you ever interrogate the defendant?
I did not.
What ended up happening with the defendant that night?
He was taken to headquarters to give a statement to detectives.
Pass the witness. Can I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Officer Castillo. I'm Leo Gonzalez. I represent Mr. Roger Saucedo. I just have a couple of questions, okay? If you have any questions about my questions or how I'm asking it, just let me know, okay?
Yes, sir.
Now, Officer Castillo, you said you were the first officer on the scene?
Yes, sir.
And when you, what is it exactly you were called out for?
The call came out for a shots fired heard.
So when a call comes out for a shots fired, when you were on patrol, how did you approach that situation?
That particular that scene, I approached it.
Well, before we get to that scene, how do you normally approach a shots fired call?
Not the same way as a shooting in progress.
So tell me how you approach it then.
Still obviously alert because you don't know what's going on. You're trying to assess what happened. And then, of course, I came across what I found.
Okay. So you got to the location. Did you know exactly where the shots fired incident had taken place?
At the time, no.
Okay, so how did you end up at the location where you did end up?
Based off the calls that were coming in, they gave a general an address. And then I was flagged down by a witness that pointed me towards the truck.
So when you made contact with this witness, where was the witness located at when you made contact with him?
Initial one was kind of closer towards the street, a little alleyway that leads towards the back alley where the greenbelt and ditch is at.
And who was the witness that you made contact with that pointed you in that location?
I don't recall the name of that individual.
No. Is that something you would have noted in your report?
If I got a full, more likely if I got a full statement, yes, I would have. I think she's, if I recall, she's just directed me towards where the truck was at.
So it was a female?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. You have your report still with you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. What's the purpose of making your report?
To try the details of what happened that day.
Is it also to kind of refresh your memory later on?
Yes.
Okay. So you said you have it in front of you?
Yes, sir. It's in my second.
Let me ask you this. On page 5 of 6, there's a little narrative there. You have it in front of you?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you have several people listed there. Who are these people that are listed?
So the first individual was Detective Roger Young, which is the 9th CID detective. And then there was the patrol supervisor. And then the crime scene technician, Patton. And then the suspect or the defendant, Roger Saucedo. And then the victim is listed twice on the report as the arrested person as well as a victim. And a witness listed as Chantel Wilson. And then the mother of the defendant listed as OT.
Why is Mr. Specs listed as a arrested person and a victim?
He had a warrant for his arrest.
And Chantel Wilson, who is that?
One.
You know
That's
that? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I apologize for interrupting you.
This is listed as the other person, not to see exactly the relationship to anyone on this report. That's okay.
May I approach you, Sharon?
Yes.
So, in looking at your report, would you have noted where this OP1 would have come into play in regard to this incident?
Yeah, they're all, each of them has their own specific tab of what I guess their role is in the incident.
And do you put it in your narrative also, describing what role this person may have played or what the information they gave you?
Yeah, in this case I did. It was standard friend, if a neighbor is with the victim.
I'm sorry, sir. Can you sit down?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I put that 01 weighed me down. Then her friend and identified neighbor was with the victim in the ditch.
And so you think this is the person that waved you down and let you know where the location was?
Yeah, I believe so.
Now, you obviously, you've testified, you assessed Mr. Speck's condition at that point. You said you couldn't figure out where exactly he was shot?
Yeah, it took a little while to exactly figure out where he was shot.
And why was that?
It wasn't really apparent at first exactly where he was shot. Because the wounds, he kept stating
Without telling us where he said, what were you observing?
a lot of blood
Okay.
and swelling on his face.
Okay, and so a lot of blood, we kind of saw it on the video already, that was over his torso. Is that correct?
Torso, and it's on his pants as well.
Pants, on his hands too?
I believe maybe on his hands.
I'm sorry?
Yes, I believe so.
And you spent some time, did you stay with him until EMS got there, or did you leave him there and then start beginning your investigation?
I was with him as well. There's another officer there with him until EMS arrived. And then once EMS arrived, I broke off saying I'm gonna go towards the truck. And then the assistant officer that was with me stayed with the victim.
So when you went to the truck, what did you go and do when you went to the actual, his vehicle?
I just looked at the vehicle from the driver's side. There's some I guess bullet holes and then some blood on the exterior. And
What else did you observe in the vehicle or on the vehicle?
I don't necessarily recall at this time.
Did you look through the vehicle?
From the exterior, but I don't recall if I exactly went assessed the entire interior of the vehicle.
You have your report there. You want to take a look and see if that refreshes your memory as to what you did?
Yes. So the only thing I put that was found in my report was a revolver. That was collected by the CSI.
But you observed that it was collected from the vehicle?
So I didn't necessarily observe it. That was what I was told that was recovered in the vehicle. So I put that in my report.
Okay, so you put in your report that a revolver was found in the vehicle,
Yes, sir.
and where was it found?
Behind the driver's seat,
And what was on it?
some blood.
Okay, and was there anything in the revolver?
Yes, there's 6 live rounds.
You said you started kind of, I guess, working backwards from the vehicle towards what? Like, how were you working that location at that point?
Just going based off what the victim told me, where he was say he was shot from the corner house. So I was just making my way over there.
Okay, and so you went down that street area.
Yes, sir.
You said this is known to be a I guess high crime area, or not a good area of town, you said?
Yes, sir.
So does that mean that there are normally shots fired in that area?
Yeah, typically there's some shots fired. That's
So
right.
would you agree with me that there would be likely shell casings up and down that area, maybe because of the type of crime that goes on there?
Maybe in the alleyway, but I can't speak for certain.
Eventually you got to the fence line to Mr. Saucedo's house.
Yes, sir.
And you said eventually you looked over the fence line at some point and noticed some shell casings.
Yes, sir.
Did you have to like pull yourself up all over the fence, or was the fence short enough that you could look over it? How did that work?
If I remember correctly, I was looking through the fence line. There was a gap in the fence.
Okay, so you looked through the fence line. Was it dark? Was it well lit?
I used my flashlight.
Okay, and so when you lose your flashlight, you could see casings within the property?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Once you noticed that, did you take it upon yourself to go make contact with the owner of the house, or did you find somebody else to go with you? How did that work?
I notified the detective that was on scene, an ICD detective. Let them know what I had found, and then we made our way to the house to speak with the occupants.
Who was the first person you made contact with?
Don't remember exactly who made, was either the mother or the defendant.
When you made contact with the defendant, did he deny that he'd be involved in anything that had happened that night?
No, sir. He was cooperative.
Okay. In fact, him and his mother were cooperative.
Yes, they were.
What did he tell you about what had taken place that day?
So I didn't get to speak with him directly.
So who did speak with him directly?
The detective and Officer Mendez.
Which detective?
I believe it's Detective Mondrian.
They spoke with him there at the location?
Yes, sir.
Now, you did put in your report that he gave you, I guess, a narrative of what taken place. Why would you put in your report the narrative if you didn't speak with him?
Because when I was talking with his mother, I was overhearing what he was saying to the detective.
So you had a conversation with his mother?
Yes.
And what was the conversation with his mother about?
Pretty much what had occurred. What occurred in the backyard.
Now, in your report, did you know what the mother had told you about what had taken place?
Yes.
What did the mother tell you had taken place?
That they had looked over the fence to, I guess, confront the victim about what he was doing, and that there was a heated exchange of words between the defendant and the victim. And that a and that the defendant went back towards his home to retrieve his weapon. And then some gunshots were fired. And that the defendant was telling the mom to get on the ground.
Did she ever indicate if the Mr. Specs had fired at her, at them?
Yes, she had stated that he had shot at them as well.
These scenes with these shots fired, they can, I guess it takes a while before anybody clears those scenes. There's a lot of areas to look over. How long were you there at that location?
Close, almost about 3 hours approximately.
And did you transport the defendant to Mr. Saucedo to the headquarters or somebody else?
Someone else did.
Were you there when Mr. Saucedo was transported?
No, it was not.
Okay, so had you already cleared the scene?
I already had left, yes, sir.
You indicated that Mr. Specs had a warrant.
Yes, sir.
What was the warrant for?
He had a parole violation warrant.
And just out of curiosity, can you explain to the jury what parole is?
What, yeah, sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes, what's parole? What exactly is parole?
When you get out of prison and you're released early from prison, you get, I guess, opportunity, I guess, to don't know exact specifics, to be honest. The term for parole.
I'm sorry?
I don't know the exact specifics for the term for parole.
Okay, well,
The
so you
definition.
started, let me just make sure I understand. You started to say that it's when you get out of prison?
Yeah, I guess when you get out of prison from your term early,
Uh-huh.
and then you can finish your sentence not in prison, and you're, I guess, you have you have to meet some sort of.
So just out of curiosity, parole is involving a felony offense?
I don't think necessarily specific felony offense. I think it's any offense.
So people parole out of Bear County Jail? Like for a misdemeanor?
Not certain.
Okay. And how, you've been a detective for how long?
This would be 8 months.
And you handle felony cases?
I just transferred to the new unit 2 months ago. I was a patrol detective before.
Now, in your understanding of parole, in your limited understanding of parole, are you aware that one of the conditions is not to possess a firearm?
Yes, I believe so. But it depends if that's what it's stated.
Well, if somebody's, in most cases, you agree with me, if parole has to do with felonies, you're convicted, you've gone to prison, so you're not allowed to possess a firearm
That's
if
correct.
you've been a felon, correct?
Yes, sir.
And so, based upon what you're telling us, that would be a violation of his parole.
Objection, Your Honor, asking for a legal conclusion.
Any other objection?
Outside of the scope of his expertise.
All right, that'll be sustained.
And just to clarify, prior to even coming up to finding that he had been in possession of a firearm, a warrant had already been issued for a violation of his parole.
That's correct.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Any further questions?
Yes, briefly, Judge. So how far was that truck from Roger's backyard?
Maybe couple hundred, maybe a couple hundred feet, give or take.
Was it within eyesight?
And I say yes, I believe so.
And how many officers showed up at the scene? You know, exactly?
Don't know the exact number.
A lot or a little?
Just with a scene that big, it's probably a good amount.
And were these officers arriving at the scene with their lights on?
I believe some arrived with their lights on.
Did you arrive with your lights on?
I didn't, based off how the call initially was brought to our attention.
Now, how long did it take from when you got to the scene to when you finally got to speak with the defendant?
Close to well over an hour after the fact.
And did he come forward and speak with you and say, this is what happened, or did you have to go to him?
We had to go to him.
Now, did you take the opportunity to search around the ditch area where the dirt was thrown?
Yes,
And how long were you out there looking? Do you remember? Was it a long amount of time or a short amount of time?
I'd definitely say a long amount of time.
And did you ever find any shell casings on that side of the fence in the alley?
No, sir, not.
Pass the witness, Judge.
Defense?
Yes, Your Honor. Officer Castillo, you made contact with Mr. Saucedo, and he was cooperative, correct?
Yes, sir.
He did indicate to you he had been involved in an altercation, correct?
Yes, sir.
He did indicate to you that he had fired his weapon.
Yes, sir.
He had indicated to you he has fired his weapon in self-defense.
From what he stated to me, yes. Actually, not directly to me, but from what I heard, yes.
Okay, so when he had told other officers, he indicated it was from self-defense.
Yes, sir.
And from what his mother, Rosa, had told you, he was also defending her.
Yes, I believe so.
And in addition, when you made contact with him, did you let him know that somebody had been shot?
I don't recall telling them that someone got shot.
And so at that point, as far as you know, and based upon the information that he has and he's providing you, he only knows he's been involved in an altercation where he had to fire his weapon. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so.
The ditch that the truck was found is a lower elevation than the rest of the street.
Yes, sir.
You have to be on street level to see it down into the ditch.
Yes, sir.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Any further questions?
Nothing to say.
All right, is this witness excused or subject for recall?
I believe this witness is excused by the state, I mean, by defense, Your Honor.
I just say it's subject to recall possibly later on.
All right, just make sure you're available.
Yes,
All right,
ma'am.
you may step down. State, call your next witness.
All right, Your Honor, the state calls Officer Patton, but we may just have just one moment.
Yes.
And Judge, prior to the witness coming in, we wanted to invoke the rule as we did not prior to the first witness meeting.
All right, the rule is invoked. Excuse me, Officer Castillo.
Yes, sir.
Council have just invoked the rule. What that means is you can't discuss your testimony with anyone. The only persons you're allowed to speak to are attorneys for the state or the defense. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Yes, we're good. Thank you.
Your Honor,
Yes.
are
Yes.
we allowed to ask questions?
No,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, in other states you're allowed to, but not in Texas. And if at any time you all need a short break, just let me know. With the break symbol. All right, if you raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, you can have a seat. Please make sure you keep your voice up so that the court reporting jurors can hear. If you'll state your name for the record and spell it.
Thomas Edward Patton Jr., Patten.
All right, state.
Officer Patton, who do you currently work for?
San Antonio Police Department.
How long have you worked for SAPD?
I got hired in 2002, but I'm coming up on 19 and a half years as a commissioned officer with them.
And what do you currently do with SAPD? What's your role?
I'm assigned to the crime scene unit and I function as a crime scene investigator.
So CSI, I know that word gets, or that label gets thrown out around a lot. What does that actually mean?
It's basically those individuals, either civilian or detectives on the unit that are responsible for processing crime scenes. And it could be a crime scene that's anywhere from like a burglary vehicle, graffiti for photographs, or up to murders. Processing them, identifying them, and collecting and processing those scenes.
So as a part of that, would you be taking photographs of evidence?
Yeah.
And would you also be putting that evidence in for further investigation, collecting it?
Yes, every case is a little bit different, but yes.
So I want to direct your attention to June 28th of 2018. Were you working on that night?
Yes.
And did you have to have an occasion to go out to a report for shots fired?
For a shooting call, yes.
And when you arrived at the scene, do you remember, what did you see?
Okay, basically this was in the back of this neighborhood in a ditched area in the green belt, which is pretty dark. There was a white pickup truck in a ditch. And that vehicle was shot at, and there was a victim, and that victim was already transported to the hospital before I got there.
So did you ever speak with the victim?
No,
That's not your goal.
no.
So do you remember, what did you observe out there at the scene? What evidence did you observe?
Well, the vehicle had front end damage on the front right, like it just recently struck something. Later on, it looked like it struck a tree. It somehow was behind these row of houses. And there's a paved roadway where that vehicle looked like it drove off the roadway, possibly hit a curb and went into the ditch. The vehicle had blood on the exterior driver's side of the front door, kind of like on the body panel. And then there was items left over from the victim that had blood on it from the clothing and other miscellaneous items.
And did you get an opportunity to take photos of this truck?
Yes, I did.
Did you take photos of the inside, outside? What did you take photos of?
Well, first I did the scene eventually, first the scene outside the truck, which were these items that were laying outside. Then I do overalls of the vehicle and any damage, and then an apparent bullet hole that I saw on the front driver's side door.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Officer Patton, I'm going to show you what's in order before. Do you recognize this?
That's my photo board.
What's the purpose of a photo board?
Usually it's the location, case number, time, the person who's taking the photos.
Is this a true and accurate depiction of the photo board used on that night?
Yes, it's going to have the case number, the location, two intersecting roadways, my name, the time I took the photo, the date, what camera I was using, what district I was at on SAPD, and what photo card I was using.
Your Honor, state what offer states exhibit number 4 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
States Exhibit 4 is admitted without objection.
And permission, publisher.
Granted.
Now, I'm also showing you what's been marked as states exhibit number 5 and 6. What are these photographs of?
That's going to be the pickup truck that I saw that was in that green belt / ditch area with an overall picture from me standing at the alley looking eastbound towards the vehicle. And then me being closer to it, mostly of the front driver's side panel area with the blood, apparent blood, and an apparent bullet hole.
Your Honor, state would offer states exhibit number 5 and 6 in evidence.
No objection, Your Honor.
States Exhibit 5 and 6 are admitted without objection.
Additionally, Judge, state would ask permission to publish.
Granted.
Now, you also had a chance to photograph the inside of the truck, correct?
Yes, I did. Extremely a large amount of apparent blood inside.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
I'm showing you with the marked as states exhibit number 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Do you recognize these photographs?
Yes, I do.
And what are they photographs of?
It's going to be the white pickup truck that I saw. This is going to be the front driver's side door panel with a large amount of apparent blood on it.
And what exhibit number is that?
For 7.
Okay.
Next one, state exhibit number 11. This is taking a picture from the right side, the front right passenger side. Inside, there's apparent blood on the bench seat and miscellaneous items on the floorboard.
So states exhibits number 7 through 11. They are true and accurate depictions of what the inside of that truck looked like.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, state would offer states exhibit number 7 through 11.
No objection, Your Honor.
States Exhibit 7 through 11 are admitted without objection.
Permission to publish?
Granted.
Now, you didn't just take photographs of the truck, did you?
No.
What else did you take photographs of?
We found a secondary crime scene at further down the alley. I think it was a corner house. And we found damage to an exterior fence, backyard fence. And then that property, the address is on my report. We found shell casings in the backyard,
And do you remember how many shell casings did you find?
a lot.
Would you have an accurate number in your report?
The report, yeah.
And do you remember exactly how many you found?
No.
Your Honor, permission to approach.
Granted.
Now, Officer Patton, would it help to refresh your recollection to see a copy of your report?
Yes, sir.
If you could just take a look, see if you can refresh your memory, and once you have, just let us know.
Excuse me. I think he's waiting for you to let him know.
Oh, yes, I had 14.
Okay, so you collected 14 shell casings.
Yes,
And where were all those shell casings found?
in the backyard of the residence. 7918 Fair Crown.
And you stated earlier that wasn't that far from where the truck was located.
No, just several houses down.
And you had an opportunity to take a look at the fence outside of that address, correct?
Yes, from the alley, as you look to the west, it looked like bullets came from the residents in the backyard exiting out through the fence towards the alley.
And Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Just indicate which one's the right side. That's okay. Yeah.
I'm showing you what's been marked as state's exhibit number 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. What are these photographs of?
These are going to be photos of the fence from the alley side as you're looking west, and these would be exit holes or apparent exit holes from an apparent bullet.
Now, are these true and accurate depictions of what you saw that night?
Yes,
Have they been altered in any way?
not that I know.
State would offer state's exhibit number 12, exhibit numbers 12 through 16.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
States Exhibit 12 through 16 are admitted without objection.
Permission to publish.
Granted.
Now, what is state's exhibit number 12?
Just an overall of 4 apparent bullet holes from the alley side.
And what about state's exhibits number 13 through 16? What are these photographs of?
Those are going to be close-ups of those individual apparent bullet holes off the same fence.
Apologies. So how can you tell that these are exit?
My training and experience, and also you can tell that when a round is fired, the entry is going to be smooth and symmetrical, but the exit's going to be splintered, just like those are.
And now, what was in those photographs that was coming in from the backyard to the outside?
Well, actually, those bullet holes are the alley side, which is the exit side.
I know, but they would have been the direction from the backyard to the alleyway.
Okay, yes, sorry, yes.
Apologies. So did you ever have an opportunity to go into the backyard of that home?
Yes,
And when you went to the backyard of the home, were you able to observe those bullet holes?
yes, some of them, yes.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
I'm showing you what's been marked as safety exhibit number 17 through 22. What are these photographs of?
These are going to be pictures of the fence from the defendant's property backyard facing east. And these look like entry holes of when a bullet would go through a fence
And so,
to the exit side.
can you repeat again, what's the main difference between the exit and the entrance?
Entry is going to be smooth, symmetrical, no kind of defects, just the defect of the hole being made itself. The exit hole is going to be jagged, fractured, or splintered with wood.
And is what's shown in state's exhibits number 17 through 22, are these true and accurate photographs of what you saw that night?
Yes, sir.
Okay, have they been altered in any way?
Not that I know of.
Your Honor, state would offer state's exhibit number 17 through 22.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
States Exhibit 17 through 22 are admitted without objection.
Now, you were also, I just said earlier, you were also able to go and walk around in the backyard, is that correct?
Yes.
And when you went into the backyard, did you observe anything else?
Well, we found some shell casings.
And again, you said earlier you found 14.
I collected 14, yes.
And where were these shell casings located? Were they all located in one spot?
No.
Well, what do you mean? Were they spread out?
Yeah, I took some photos of the shell casings and I know that some were closer to the fence and some were close to the door area in the back.
Can I approach?
Yes.
All I'm showing you was marked as exhibit number 23 through 25. What are these photographs of?
That would be a picture of the defendant's backyard. There's a cluster, it looks like 5 items of or evidence labels. Those would be shell casings. Now one is a close-up of it. Shows E 11, 12, 13, 15, and 18 that are marked. And those would be shell casings in the grass. The other picture, there's a disabled vehicle in his yard near the driveway, and there's 4 more shell casings in that area.
And are these true and accurate depictions of what you saw that night?
Yeah.
Your Honor, state would offer state's exhibit number 23 through 25.
No objection, Your Honor.
States Exhibit 23 through 25 is admitted without objection.
Permission to publish, Your Honor.
Granted.
Now, what else did you collect from that scene?
Well, there were a lot of items outside near that truck. Backpack, clothing, box of ammo. Inside the vehicle also was a handgun. At the residence of the defendant's residence, there was a handgun inside, I believe, his kitchen drawer. And other than the shell casings and a GSR from him, that's it.
Well, did you have an opportunity to investigate the victim's truck?
Yes,
And did you find any weapons in the victim's truck?
yes.
Where did you find the weapon? Do you remember?
I believe it was behind the front bench seat, behind the driver. And then there was one in his green backpack outside the vehicle.
Now, let's talk about the one that was found in the green backpack. Do you recall, do you remember if you found that at the scene or did you find it later on?
I found it at the ICE office, but it was inside the bag.
So you found it when you had already gotten back to the office?
Yes,
And did you have a chance to, were you able to see what type of weapons you found?
yes.
What were the 2 weapons that you found?
One was a Rome revolver, in very bad shape, had apparent blood on it, had some duct tape possibly on it. And that was the one inside the pickup truck. The one in the green bag was a newer model, 38 special comes to mind, chrome colored, maybe grayish.
And was there any difference between the 2 guns besides their wear and tear?
Ammo was different, I believe.
What was different about the ammo? Do you recall?
The one in the green bag I thought was, I didn't recognize the ammo, so I thought it was like a starter pistol or something, but it's actually a live gun as far as I know. And the ammo was just different.
And did you notice anything in particular about the firearms when you observed them?
The black one looked like one round was fired. One of the rounds was indented on the primer, but I don't believe that round was fired. It was kind of defective. And then the other handgun in the green bag was a workable handgun.
So the first gun had 2 rounds, one that was fired and one that was indented. And what about the second one? Was there anything similar found there?
Yes, that one, I also think one was fired. I have to look at my report if you don't mind.
Maybe good.
Yes, the one in the green bag had 4 live rounds and 1 spent round in it, in the chamber.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Now I'm showing you with the marked as state exhibit number 26. What is this? Photograph of?
That's going to be the defendant's handgun in the kitchen drawer, E14, Smith and Wesson.
And is that an accurate depiction of the handgun when you saw it?
Yes.
Your Honor, state would offer state exhibit number 26 in evidence.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, State's Exhibit 26 is admitted without objection.
Permission to publish?
Granted.
Now, I'm showing you what's been marked as state exhibit number 27. What is this photograph of?
This could be the green backpack that was outside the pickup truck on the ground.
And is that the bag that you found the weapon in?
Yes.
And is that an accurate depiction of what the bag looked like on that night?
Yes.
Your Honor, state would offer state's exhibit number 27 in evidence.
No objection, Your Honor.
State's Exhibit 27 is admitted without objection.
Permission to publish?
Granted.
Now, I'm showing you that it's marked as state exhibit number 29 through 32. What are these photographs of?
This is a 38 special revolver cylinder. It's a 6-round. You got one with the primer that's indented. You have a second one that's partially indented, and one shell is missing.
And are those photographs, I believe it states number 29 through 32, are these the same gun?
They appear to be the same gun. This would be the Rohm, ROHM, I believe, handgun that I found inside the pickup truck.
And are these true and accurate photographs of the gun?
Yes.
Your Honor, state would offer state's exhibit number 29 through 32.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
State's Exhibit 29 through 32 are admitted without objection.
Permission to publish?
Granted.
Now, you said that the firearm that was in state's exhibit number 29 through 32, that this firearm was found behind the victim's seat in his truck.
Yeah.
And did you make any observations about the state of the gun?
Very old, did not function properly, and had some blood on it.
And how could you tell that it didn't function properly?
I think once I emptied it or unloaded it, I remember pulling the trigger and it was kind of like not cycling through correctly,
So there were issues with the gun.
from what I can remember.
So I'm showing you what was marked as state's exhibit number 33 through 34. What are these photographs of?
It's gonna be the secondary handgun, or a handgun that I found in the green bag.
And again, the handgun that you found later on.
Yes, it's in a bag. I opened the bag and there it is. I took a picture of it sitting in the bag, and then I pulled the gun out and took a picture of the cylinder, which shows one round was indented on a primer, and then the other two are just partially.
And so is what's depicted in state's exhibit numbers 33 and 34, are these true and accurate depictions of the gun that you observed?
Yes.
All right, Your Honor, state would offer state's exhibits number 33 and 34.
No objection, Your Honor.
State's Exhibit 33 and 34 are admitted without objection.
Permission to publish.
Granted.
Now, were you able to take a photograph of the defendant on that night?
Say again?
Were you able to take a photograph of the defendant on that night?
Yes, I did.
And when did you take this photograph? Do you recall?
In the backyard, sometime during the investigation.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm showing you what was marked as state's exhibit number 28. What is this photograph of?
It's a picture of the defendant wearing an STP logo t-shirt.
Is it a fair and accurate depiction of what he looked like on that night?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, state would offer state's exhibit number 28 into evidence.
No objection, Your Honor.
State's Exhibit 28 is admitted without objection.
Permission to publish.
Granted.
Now, do you see the defendant in report?
Yes, sir. He's sitting right over there with the blue shirt and gray colored pants on.
Can the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant? So you were able to make these observations and you were able to take the photographs of these various items, correct?
Yes.
So as a CSI, do you have any other duties or responsibilities with SAP?
No,
Well, for example, are you a custodian of records?
no.
Pass this.
Defense?
Thank you, Your Honor. Patton, I'm Leo Gonzalez, I'm an attorney for Mr. Roger Saucedo. Just had a couple questions for you. What's your focus when you get to a crime scene?
Find out exactly what kind of crime scene do I have. For an example would be, this is a shooting. Dissect the shooting and find out exactly, piece it together and how this shooting happened. And then once you identify what area of the shooting, how am I going to collect it, document it, that type of thing.
So you want to figure out, what do I have and what can I figure out took place?
Right, and what other kind of resources I'm gonna need. Usually when we have an offense, say a burglary of a vehicle, all we're gonna do is latent prints on that one. We're not gonna photograph it unless you find items of evidence. You find items of evidence, you start processing and doing more, you're gonna photograph, you might sketch, and then you might actually do latent prints on the items that we collected. So in this instance, on a possible murder, we would have someone come out and sketch. After I picked up the items, they would sketch it first. I'm going to photograph it, and then we're going to do a video of the scene since the person might pass away.
And so do you treat every aggravated assault possibly a murder, or is it?
No, we get the words on whether the injuries are life-threatening or not. If it's life-threatening, then we're probably going to step it up. We have a 3D Leica scanner also that we do. It's kind of like things you see on TV that's pretty cool. If not, then we won't be doing any of those. And sometimes those things are usually broken because they're so expensive and kind of touchy. But in every aggravated assault, probably won't have video.
In regards to the collection of evidence, who tells you where to go for the evidence? The detectives directing you to what to look for, or are you doing it yourself? How does that work?
Well, it's a team process. Basically, I already know what I have to do. I advise the follow-up detectives what I found. Then they do their interviews, and then they would come back and they would advise me that, hey, I need to get this done. Something that I either didn't see, didn't know about, that needs to be collected. Or my supervisor might make the scene and might have to do additional items need to be collected or documented.
Were there any other CSIs or sent out to this location?
Jessica Sanchez, which is Saldivar now, I believe.
And what was the purpose of having someone else out there?
In that situation with her showing up, she processed the scene by doing a video and sketch of the evidence items.
Anybody else?
Somebody went to the hospital for the victim. Protocol is they take photographs, they collect clothing, and we do a GSR on that victim.
Now, when you're out there, are you trying to make a determination to tell the officers this is what took place, or just this is the evidence that we have here?
It's kind of every situation's different. So I basically would come to the conclusion from the investigation. Shots were fired from the defendant's backyard. Rounds went through the fence. They exited the fence. It appears one of the rounds struck the victim's car. Victim got hit wherever it was, possibly the head. He wrecked out, hit a tree. His vehicle came to a stop near the ditch. So that's what we had after investigating.
And you would agree with me that that's based just upon what you had, the evidence there, right?
Well, yes.
Okay. And so without the context of what else had taken place prior to or during the incident, that's the limited amount of information you can give at that point.
Well, I would talk to the defendant myself also. And he advised me that he was shot at, and then he shot back.
Right. So at that point, you had received information that he had fired his weapon in self-defense?
Correct.
Okay. And in fact, you had informed or been informed that he also had his mother back there?
I believe there was an old lady, but I don't remember the circumstances.
And so what was the purpose of then taking the complaining witness's gun?
A complaining witness.
the victim?
Well, you collect items of evidence because it could be that the victim could have been the shooter, because we're not sure.
And so at this point, once you get the story or information from Mr. Saucedo that he had been shot at, you want to see, is there even a weapon there?
Correct.
And you found a weapon there,
That is correct.
and you found two there.
Correct.
And you indicated live rounds have been fired from both weapons.
Yes.
And in fact, you described the condition of the firearm on one as pretty old
Yes.
and it was missing the serial number.
Yes, I believe I can find one on that weapon.
Now, what's the purpose of, or why would a serial number not appear on a firearm?
Usually tells me it's
Speculation.
Sustained.
Well, let me ask you this: in your experience you've dealt with firearms quite a bit, right?
yes, sir.
Have you ever noticed that there are serial numbers that are no longer on a weapon?
Yes.
Is there typically a reason in your experience why there's not a serial number on a weapon?
Yes.
What is that reason?
Stolen.
Pass witness, Sean.
State.
So you mentioned about GSR on the victim, correct?
Yes, another CSI would go to the hospital. Halis, I believe his name is. He would complete that GSR on the victim.
So you were given information that from the defendant that he was shot at.
Yes.
Did you observe the outside of that fence?
Yes, I did.
Now, aside from the bullet holes that you've already mentioned, did you find any other bullet holes?
No, sir.
Now, based off your training experience and based off of what you were told, does that make sense to you?
I'm open-minded. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. The victim could have shot. I just didn't find a hole on the alley side going west.
Now, did you have a chance to look in the ditch area that was outside of the defendant's fence?
I looked near the vehicle, the victim's vehicle, yes.
But did you have a chance to look outside of the area right by where the fence is, that alleyway, by the defendant's part?
I checked the alleyway and I didn't find any items of evidence to process.
Now, I want to talk to you about those live rounds that were in both of the guns found on the victim. Now, you said that on one of the revolvers, there were two indents. One of them was fired and one of them was just an indent.
Yes.
Do you know when that gun would have been fired?
No,
Is there any way for you to have been able to tell?
just that it was fired. I can't tell you when.
So going towards that second revolver, you said that one of the cartridges, did it have an indent on it? Is there any evidence that you can see?
On the second handgun in the green bag, yes.
And can you tell based off of that when that was fired?
No.
Ask the witness.
Now, let me ask you this: the car where the victim was located, did it appear to have it? Let me just rephrase that. That car appeared to have traveled from that location where the bullet holes were found on the fence further down the road, correct?
Further down the alley to the right, going eastbound.
But it wasn't still outside that location, outside the fence, right?
No,
So I traveled down. Anything else that had maybe been alongside what may have dispersed from that area at that point?
not that I know of. There was several houses down.
What I'm saying is, as you're driving down that area, anything else that was near that area, the tires could have been dispersed along the area further down.
Possibility, maybe.
And in addition, you were asked about the bullet holes going from the fence or the back passageway into the backyard. You didn't find any there, but you said you were open because it's possible that somebody may have fired over the fence. Is that correct?
Yes.
And in fact, if somebody's standing on top of the truck, they may have, or in the bed of the truck, they may have had a higher sight line at that point.
Sounds feasible.
I'll pass it with John.
State.
Nothing to say, Judge.
All right, is this witness excused or subject to recall?
Excuse, Your Honor.
All right, the rule has been invoked. What that means is you can't discuss your testimony with anyone. Only persons you're allowed to speak to are attorneys for the state or the defense. All right, state, call your next witness.
Judge, may we approve?
Yes. Let's do this. Just 1 second. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you a short break. I'll give you till 3:55, and that'll give Deputy Laura a chance to let you know where you're going to be reporting when we come back tomorrow. You have heard some evidence in this case. You are not allowed to start deliberating in your own head or with each other. You're not allowed to do any research as you move throughout the courthouse. When you have breaks, make sure that your badge is visible, because sometimes attorneys not related to this case may be speaking about this case or other cases. And everything that you need to know about this case is to come from inside this courtroom. Does everyone understand? All right, everyone, please stand. Oh, if you'll just leave them here. Thank you. Excuse me. Should we close that door? Or do you need, if he has something that you need to sign for, you all can do that now. All right.
Judge, I just need to take a break.
Oh. All right, so everybody can take a break, and I've given them to 3:55. Let me ask you this before you all go. Are you all expecting to call the complainant today or no?
No, Judge, it would probably be tomorrow, not the day after, depending on how long the other is.
All right, because I don't like for any testimony to be cut off. All right, so everyone, we'll be back here 3:55. I mean, yeah, 3:55.
For today, Judge, just as defense is asking, we have at least 2 possible witnesses that can testify.
All right, yes, let's keep going. All right, thank you.
Did you need a break? Okay, come with us this way.
Take it off that?
Yeah.
Let them know we're ready. I think Deputy Laura has them. Okay.
And Judge, just to let you know, this is gonna be our last witness that we have today.
And how long, before the jury comes back, how long are you all expecting this trial to last?
So after this witness, we have about 3 or 4 more. So they may take a bit of time. One of them, it is a statement, it is a video, but we're not gonna play all the video.
All right, so this is what we'll do. Defense, make sure your witnesses, if you have witnesses, are here on Friday.
Well, that's what we were planning on doing.
So tomorrow we'll start at 1:30 and Friday we'll start, I will say 9:15. Only because I'm not sure what may fall over a little bit
Right.
to the next day.
Okay.
So, yes,
Is this one of the courtrooms that's gonna call us back here Saturday morning?
Saturday morning.
And I've been in this courthouse on Saturday mornings for trial. I'm just asking.
Leo Gonzalez,
Put it on me, Judge.
Daniel.
Hmm.
Hank, well, Hank is sort of new to this courtroom. Diana, have you ever known me to call somebody in on a Saturday or Sunday?
I'm trying to remember. I know it was for sure the 227, so it's Judge O'Connell. I know we did that one on Saturday morning, and I feel like there was another one. I've been here for trials on Saturday.
I don't think the jurors want to come in on a Saturday.
Maybe.
It was all of that. I remember hearing about it.
We're ready.
All right, for the jury?
No, because he wasn't. He hasn't been around one. No, I've never been. I've never been.
Oh, and just so you all know, you can actually sit in any seat that you want to sit over there, so you don't have to be in the same seat. And it keeps me on my toes. All right, everyone, please be seated. State, call your next witness.
Your Honor, we call CSI Saldivar to the stand, please.
All right, can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, you can lower your hand if you'll make sure you keep your voice up so that the court reporter and jurors can hear. If you can state your name and spell it for the record.
I'm CSI Jessica Saldivar, Jessica, Saldivar, Saldivar.
And Ms. Saldivar, your married name was Sanchez, is that right?
Yes, during the scene, my name is Sanchez.
Okay, so your name on any reports that we might see are it's going to be Sanchez, but your last name now is Saldivar.
Yes, that's correct.
And can you tell the jury your occupation, please?
I'm a crime scene investigator for San Antonio Police Department.
And how long have you been doing that?
I've been doing it since March 2018.
Okay, and can you tell the jury about some of the duties you perform as a CSI?
As a CSI, I photograph, document, analyze the crime scenes, and preserve evidence.
And were you on duty on June 28th, 2018?
Yes,
Did you make a report that night?
yes, I did.
Would it be helpful to you to have your report in front of you to refer to?
Yes, it is.
Judge, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Okay, and as part of your report, did you make a couple of sketches that evening?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So did you compare these two diagrams? I'm showing you for the purposes of the record, I'm showing you what I've just marked as States Exhibit number 35 and States Exhibit 36. Did you prepare both of these?
Yes, I did.
And are you personally familiar with what the objects that are depicted in these diagrams?
Yes.
And if you look at the top of State's Exhibit 36, can you read to the jury, is that the address at the top? I think I cut off a little bit.
Yes, it's a 7918 Fairground Drive.
Okay, and so can you describe to the jury what this is a diagram of?
This is the diagram of the backyard. This is the crime scene we had found after the, I guess, drainage ditch in the area.
Okay. And on State's Exhibit 36, can you tell the jury what the what that's a diagram of?
This is a rough sketch of a drainage ditch where we had found a white truck with items of evidence.
Okay, and can you tell the jury at the top of State's Exhibit 36, can you read this line?
It says drainage ditch behind 7906 Fairground Drive.
And for both of these exhibits, are these a fair and accurate depiction of the how of the location that night?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, pending any objection from defense, I move to admit State's Exhibits 35 and 36.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, State's Exhibit number 35 and 36 are admitted without objection.
Judge, do I have permission to publish these?
Yes.
And Ms. Saldivar, you have your copy in front of you too, right?
Yes,
Okay. So at the top of this diagram, it's the backyard of 7918 Fairground, right?
yes,
And then and this is based on your when you got to the crime scene, your observations of the crime scene, is that right?
yes.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to walk around the backyard of 7918 Fairground on that night?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And if I can draw your attention to numbers E8, E6, E7. I realize y'all don't have it right in front of you, so talking about this area right here. And can you tell the jury what you found in this area?
Yes. There's an entrance. I don't know if you can mark on this.
Yes, you can.
No. Maybe it doesn't work.
If you would like to step down, you can step down to the exhibit.
So right here was $2 lines worth. This is where the entrance point of the fence was for the backyard. So I actually looked over this fence right here and saw that there was a vehicle right by the entrance of the backyard. There's an old, I guess, a body of like a sports car, I believe it was. And right in front of it was spent shell casings or casings of bullets that had been fired. That's the cluster that I found right when I entered the location.
Then if you could just help the jury orient themselves a little bit, is this the fence that's facing the alley?
Yes. So I walked through the backyard and there was a rear fence where we saw apparent bullet holes. And then behind it was the greenway for the ditches.
And you can tell the jury what you found over here.
So across the yard, near the rear fence was another cluster or grouping of spent shell casings.
Let me bring up State's Exhibit 36 for a moment. Okay, and so, to help the jury out, is this, can you identify what this is right here?
So there here is a drainage ditch. There was a concrete or a cement slab going down into the drainage ditch. And then right below the drainage ditch and the cement block or slab, there was a white truck, like a little white truck. And around it was items of evidence. I believe it was clothing, a bag, a box of ammunition, and then blood.
And the box of ammunition, were those spent shell casings, those were unfired bullets?
Spent shell casings or they've been fired already. So here I believe there's a box.
Okay,
of ammo.
and those were not spent shell casings, that's a box again.
Yes, they're not.
And to help the jury get oriented here, the house would be sort of this, on this side of this line.
Yes, it'd be this way.
Okay. If I could see, we're trying to switch and see if we can put that. So on that evening, did you have the opportunity to take a crime scene video as you walked through the crime scene?
Yes, I took a video as well.
And were you using a device that's capable of making fair and accurate recordings of events as they occur?
Yes.
So I'm showing you this. Did you ever have the opportunity to watch these videos earlier?
Yes, I did.
How do you?
It has my initials, badge number, and the date.
So, Your Honor, pending any objection from the defense, I move to admit these videos, the crime scene walkthrough videos.
No objection.
Right. And what exhibit numbers for those,
Oh,
please?
yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. I'm gonna mark this as State's Exhibit 37.
All right. State's exhibit number 37 is admitted without objection.
So can you tell the jury a little bit about how do you typically make these crime scene videos? Like what's sort of the process?
So I'll take the video recording or the video recorder. It's a Canon, kind of like a regular camcorder. So you'll put a memory card in it. We'll document the kind of like the starting photo, which shows like the case number, the date, the time. And then after I do that, I'll start going through the crime scene through my perspective as I walk through it. And then once I see items of evidence, I'll focus on it, that way you can see it, and then the surrounding area.
And so the diagrams, the maps that you make, how do you make those? Are those based on you take measurements to do those?
Yes, I actually use a laser pointer for kind of like architects use, instead of using a ruler or kind of like a tape. I can't remember what it's called. The type of tape that comes out. And then that way I can get more accurate measurements than doing it by hand.
And then, so can we talk about the bullet holes are marked with either a B or a BH? They're marked with BH on here. And then there's some other, can you tell the jury a little bit about the different markings, like what you use to mark the evidence and things on the diagram?
Yes, when I had walked through the backyard, I went to the rear fence of the backyard, and I had noticed that a cluster of spent shell casings in the rear backyard, and there was a post or part of the fence line that had apparent bullet holes. So I marked them as BH, and then I go through the number. So there was five, I believe 5 bullet holes. So I marked them as BH1, BH2 on to BH5. So that way I can see them, because it was a nighttime, so I could see him for his photos as well as my sketch.
And so do these, like for instance, does E11, E12, the shell casings on the ground, do those correspond to the photos that we showed the jury earlier, the photos of the shell casings?
Yes, that's correct.
2. Oh, yeah. Should. And so the video that we're about to see when we get it loaded up is going to show the jury that the evidence that we've already shown them the photographs of. Is that right?
Yes, that's
288. Can you tell the jury what we're seeing here?
This is the white truck in the drainage ditch, and there's a concrete slab right there. So it's down at an angle with the white truck.
Okay, and so there's the houses are sort of the farthest one way, then there's an alley, and then there's the drainage ditch.
So I believe it was behind me, kind of like at an angle, but I know it was behind me.
Right,
over the
okay,
drainage.
good deal. And so you're just filming kind of the ground there. So what is the purpose of taking these crime scene videos?
It's to give another perspective. So when you have the stills with the photos, then you can see them as someone walking.
And what are we seeing here on the screen?
This is the white truck with apparent blood on the driver's side, and then broken glass. And then I'm just trying to get more of it. Unfortunately, my shadow's in there, and our shadows.
And these are typically muted, right? There's typically not sound.
Yes.
How spread out was the crime scene? How big was that area that you were walking around in?
Oh, it was fairly big. I didn't get a measurement of the drainage ditch because my negative pointer wouldn't go that far, but it was pretty far.
What are we looking at here? I'm sorry.
This says E1 or evidence placard 1 with seems like clothing with apparent blood.
There was a duffel bag up on the top of the screen?
Yes, I believe that was the green bag.
And so the marker that we're seeing here corresponds to the E1 that's on your sketch on State's Exhibit 36.
Yes, sir.
Let's go to 292. So we're playing video 292 now. Can you tell the jury what we're seeing here?
Well, this is I guess the top of the drainage ditch. So this is me walking up to it. And this is the angle showing the interior of the drainage.
There's bags of, it looks like dirt in one, and then maybe some trash or dirt in these
Mm.
ones.
So I believe this is perspective for the rear of the truck from perhaps the backyard. I know it was 2018, so I'm still trying to remember.
It's kind of tough without sound too.
Yes.
You do 293. Okay, we're gonna play video 293 here. Okay, can you tell the jury what's on the right side of the screen there, the vehicle there?
So the right side is the rear of the white truck. So I believe this is the other side of the rear fence. So we actually crossed, or I believe Patton jumped over. I think I walked over, and then we walked from the back of the fence all the way to the truck.
Okay, good deal. We're gonna play number 294. Can you tell the jury what's on the screen there?
This is displaying apparent blood with an apparent defect or bullet hole.
And that's in the white truck that we saw earlier.
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna play video 297. Can you tell the jury about the placards on the ground there?
So this is the backyard of the location at Fairground. And this is showing placard evidence marker number 8 with a spin shell casing. And then I believe the vehicle, yes, the body of the vehicle with the grouping of spent shell casings is what's being showed here on the video.
And these markers correspond to the markings in your sketch on State's Exhibit 36, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And so what we're seeing this vehicle here, and you've already, somebody has already marked these shell casings behind the vehicle. And then can you tell the jury you're walking through the backyard now?
Yeah, so this is the other side of the backyard. So I just walked around and then we saw the grouping of spent shell casings in the rear by the fence.
And this is the same deal where these have been marked and those numbers will correspond to the numbers in State's Exhibit 35.
Yes.
That's, you're zooming in on something there. Can you tell the jury what that is?
On evidence placard number 11, that's a spent shell casing.
And then that's, can you tell the jury what that is?
For evidence placard number 12, that is also a spent shell casing.
And then the same deal here with number 13.
With evidence placard number 13, that is a spent shell casing as well.
Okay, we're gonna switch to, can you play? We're gonna play video 300 here. Can you tell the jury what we're seeing here?
This is the rear fence. This is where we discovered the bullet holes.
So we're inside the backyard now, looking at the interior of the backyard fence.
Yes.
And how many bullet holes did you see in the fence?
I believe I saw 5.
And did you look around the rest of the fence to see if there were other bullet holes?
Yes, we did.
Did you find any other bullet holes?
No, that was the only grouping that we saw.
Can you tell the jury what they're seeing here?
That is an apparent bullet hole on the lower part of the fence. Another apparent bullet hole. Another apparent bullet hole.
And were you able to enter the defendant's home that night?
I'm sorry,
Did you go inside the defendant's home that night?
I did.
Okay, and we're gonna play video 299 real quick. And can you tell the jury what they're gonna see or what they're seeing here?
So there was a porch in the backyard of the house going into the rear of the residence, and then inside the door was the kitchen to the right. And inside the kitchen, they had searched the location and discovered that firearm in the drawer.
So I just want to publish these. Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Thanks.
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
Yes.
Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good, good. So as a, I guess, how long have you been a CSI?
Since 2018,
And in 2018, I guess what month did you become a CSI in 2018?
March.
So how many crime scenes do you think that you had prior to this one in this particular incident?
Not sure at this moment.
Do you think that was your first one?
No, it wasn't.
Had you had more than 5 at that point?
I believe so.
Okay. And when you got to this location, you weren't the first CSI there.
No, I wasn't.
So once you got there, was it Patton? Everybody was there?
Yes.
Did he instruct you where to look and what you needed to document?
He did, as well as the officers at the location.
And so they told you this is where we found these grouping of either casings, or this is where we found bullet holes and things like that.
Yes, and we searched the location together.
But they had already done kind of a search already.
I believe we found the backyard while we were there as a scene of possible crime. So we searched the location together.
So where was Patton when you first got there then?
I arrived later, so I'm not sure where he focused on.
No, I'm sorry. When you got there, where was he?
I believe he was at the drainage ditch.
Did you first start processing that scene because you were there?
I don't remember.
Well, would you have first started?
I believe he had already started his placards at the drainage ditch because evidence placard 1 and 2 were at the drainage ditch. So he may have processed that first and then gone to the.
And we've saw plenty of placards in that location and then some in the backyard as well.
Mhm.
Those placards, the numbers that they have, are those don't set up the sequence of events, correct?
We try to keep them in order.
No,
As
no,
we
what I'm, not the sequence of events. You try to keep the sequential number in order of the placards, but they don't indicate how these things took place, right? One
Oh.
after another.
Correct, because we don't know the story, we weren't there.
Right. So all you're doing is just labeling them and you continue as you go, as you find them with a different letter or number or whatever it is.
Yes,
Okay. Now, in your drawing that you did, you took some measurements of the backyard of Faircrown.
yes.
How far was the fence line on the backyard?
The full fence line.
Mhm.
Basically, there were some weird angles of the backyard.
I guess the straight angle that is there, the first one where you had the bullet holes indicated, what was that measurement?
It was roughly 97 feet and 3 inches, and this is not to scale, so everything is approximate,
You said 97 feet
and 3
and
inches.
3 inches. Okay. Now, at that point, it kind of breaks off into an angle. Is that another fence line or is that the house?
I believe it's another fence line, but I don't remember based on my sketch.
Okay. And within your drawing, where's the house? How does the house abut to the backyard?
I believe there's a porch, and then there was a kind of like glass doors, and then I think we went through there.
Is that where the entry point is at? Or is that another part of the backyard?
I think it's the entry point to the house
Okay.
where the porch is. But there were the side where the vehicle and the cluster of swing showcasing is, I believe that was just a door in the fence.
Okay. So that porch, we're labeled it as P, that's the porch that had the glass doors.
I believe so.
Okay.
I would have to look at the photos.
And then to the right would have been the door for the backyard, I guess.
Yes, I believe it was a wooden door.
Okay. Now, when you did the sketch for the drainage ditch, there are no measurements as far as for how far down the truck was found. But you said it was quite a bit of a distance, correct?
From the fence,
Right.
I believe so. It was quite a bit of distance.
Since the fence line of the house that we've talked about that you measured was 97 feet, it was beyond 97 feet, correct?
From the drainage ditch?
Right.
It's possible.
Well, I mean, from your drawing, it wasn't right outside the house, right?
That's correct.
And it was further down and then down
Yes.
the ditch. Okay. The shell casings that you were located, had somebody else located them first, or you located them and then marked them?
I believe it was a group effort finding the swing showcasings. I don't know if those were my placards. I may have been Patton's placards.
Okay.
I'm not sure if he marked them.
Now, in the video, we saw that there was a little dog there. Now, typically, y'all try to make sure that the crime scenes are free from any other individuals who are in the location, correct?
Correct.
And why is that?
To secure the crime scene.
And anything that's foreign could affect where things are found and located, correct?
Correct.
Was there any other dogs besides that one that were in the backyard?
I don't remember. That was the only one in my video, I believe.
That's the only one you remember because you saw it on the video, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you measured the height of the bullet holes?
From the bottom of the fence.
Okay. And the top of the fence was 5'6", is that correct?
Yes, according to my sketch.
Okay, so it's not a particularly high fence. Would you agree with me?
I would agree.
Okay. And in fact, if you're standing on something outside, you would be above probably, if normal height, you'd be above the fence line. Potentially.
Potentially, yes.
I mean, and that's what I'm saying, normal height. I mean, obviously, if somebody has a shorter height, and I'm not making any comments, I'm just saying that. Sure. I'm not making any comments. I'm just saying, like, if normal height, you would be above the fence line.
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's see. You did not speak with anybody that night, is that correct?
I believe all the people I spoke with were the officers of the scene and CSI Patton.
But you didn't speak to any witnesses or any individuals who were involved in the incident?
No, I didn't.
Is that typical for you not to speak with anybody?
It's typical, especially since I assisted him. I came after the fact. So I came to directly help him search for evidence and grab and do the video.
When you're gathering these or notifying everyone that there are these shell casings, are you trying to determine when they were shot?
No, I'm not.
You're just making sure, hey, this is what I found.
Yes.
So go ahead.
No, I'm saying we usually try to take everything we see that could be potential items of evidence.
So whatever was found, you don't know when or where it was shot, just that it was found back there.
Yes.
Were you asked to do anything else other than the sketch?
I did the sketch, the rough sketch, the video, and I assisted with searching the crime scene.
Nothing else outside of that?
Nothing else.
Okay. You had noted in your report, there were some needles found. Is there any particular reason why you noted that?
I might have just been something I observed.
Okay. Did you take those into custody or mark them as evidence of some kind?
I did not take anything into custody.
But you thought they were worthy enough to put in the report, correct?
Yes.
In regards to the time of day, it was pretty dark at that point, correct?
Yes, it was.
I mean, in fact, from the video, we really couldn't see the truck unless the light was on it in that alleyway, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And so because it's so dark, would you agree with me that it's potentially there could be evidence that doesn't get seen on that night because it's so dark?
Yes.
I'll pass witness, Your Honor.
That's great.
Yes, Your Honor. About how many officers were there that night?
I would have to look at the key card to see how many were dispatched. I know the main one I spoke to was with Officer Castillo, who was here earlier. I believe mainly spoke with him and then CSI Patton.
But more than 4 people?
Usually they get dispatched that way, when then they might be let go based on the call needs of the city, but I don't know how many stayed by the time we left.
And did you find any shell casings in the drainage ditch?
I don't believe we did.
And about how many houses down? So you got in the 2 drawings, one is from 7918 Fair Crown and one is 7906 Fair Crown. Could you estimate for the jury about how many houses down the truck was?
No, I can't. I'd have to look at Google Maps or something.
Would your video show that though?
I believe it's only the rear of the houses, so it wouldn't show the actual houses to where we could actually like point them out.
Thank you so much. Pass the witness, Judge.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, is this witness excused or subject for recall?
Excuse, Your Honor.
Excuse judge.
All right, the rule has been invoked. What that means is you can't discuss your testimony with anyone. The only persons you're allowed to speak to are attorneys for the state of the defense. All right, thank you. And if you'll leave any exhibits just there. All right, state, call your next witness.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what's going to happen is we're going to recess at this point. My intention is always try to have you out here by 4:30. That way you can avoid rush hour traffic. The state is going to continue with their case tomorrow. What I am anticipating, but things happen. So what I'm anticipating is probably this evidence from both sides maybe will be concluded by Friday. So just plan for that. So tomorrow, I have a docket in the morning. So we're going to start at 1:30 tomorrow. Because there are other jurors that are called down for jury duty, there's usually about 500 or so. That means that the parking garage will be full. So if you want a chance to have a parking space at the parking garage, it's probably best, even though we're not starting till 1:30, to probably arrive around noon. And the reason why I say that is because usually people go off campus to have lunch. So there'll be some spaces there for you. I know Deputy Laura has shown you in the back, we have a refrigerator, there's a microwave. So if you ever want to bring anything, you're more than welcome to bring something and use the refrigerator as needed. Is there any questions about anything? All right, so remember my instructions. You're not allowed to start deliberating individually in your head, start talking to anybody about what you've seen or that has happened in this courtroom, or discuss with each other about what you've seen or happened in this courtroom. If you see something or hear somebody talking about this case, please ignore it. Do not do any investigation work whatsoever. Everything that you need to know about this case is to come from inside the courtroom. And I do know that when we broke after a witness, somebody wanted to know, can I ask questions or can we ask questions? That's not allowed. So whatever questions internally you may have, remember, no investigation. Everything is to come from inside the courtroom. Does everyone understand? All right, so I will see you all tomorrow. And even though I have docket, I'm going to let us break at noon, Diana, so that you can have a break. And then we'll be prepared to start at 1:30. We cannot start at 1:30 unless you're all here. So if someone's not here, we'll have to wait for that person. And Deputy Laura will take your information and give you our information in case there's some issue. All right, everyone, please rise for the jurors. Oh, yes, follow Deputy Laura. Oh, no, just leave it there. I'll let you know. Yeah. No problem. You're asking questions. That's always good. Everyone just give me, please be seated. Everyone just give me a moment. How you doing? Okay, yeah.
No, I mean, like,
Oh.
stand up before or something.
All right, so state, you're expecting how many more witnesses approximately?
About 4, Judge.
About 4. And you think that will get us tomorrow till 4:30 at least?
It should, Judge.
All right. And then so defense, make sure your witnesses are here on Friday, no later than 9:15,
Yes.
if you decide to call
Yes, Judge.
witnesses. All right, is there anything that we need to take up?
I don't believe so, Your Honor.
I don't believe so, Judge.
All right, if y'all will get with Dinah to make sure that she has all the exhibits she's supposed to have.